And just like that, here we are. The Champions League is here, so UCL this week is here as well. We'll go through all of the matches. I mean, in varying degrees of depth, of course. Can't watch all of the matches, but you can watch all of the matches on DAZN in certain territories like Canada, or all of the matches in Spanish in the USA. So use my link if you're interested. I've got it in the description for you. Every single match, man, they can be yours. Then you can take my job, all right? Let's go. Arsenal looked good. They got what was, in the end, a comfortable 2-0 win away to Athletic Club. Some scares in the first half here and there, but overall, total control from Arsenal. They had to labor for their win a bit, but have much better depth now, and depth got them the win. Trossard and Martinelli coming off of the bench. Trossard and Martinelli getting a goal and an assist each. Super subs. I mean, when the new signings are struggling to get anything going or to finish off their chances, in Eze's or Gyökeres's case, you need your Trossards and Martinellis to step in. The only issue I think some people had with those guys was in them being your starters, right? Otherwise, they are quality backups off the bench. So 2-0 away, you'll take that every time. Benfica started this match against Karabag quite well, to be honest, getting a goal early, doubling their lead later. Sheldarup looking like a problem down that left flank. Sudakov looking composed. Pavlidis scoring as ever. And then at 2-0 up, just stopped playing. Classic. Karabag got one back with a banger, and from there kind of dominated the rest of that first half. And guess what? They leveled a couple of minutes into the second half. Unbelievable. Simple through ball. Camilo Duran with a nice finish off the post. Back to the beginning again. Back to square one. That guy a few years ago was playing in the Azores. And then back to bad defending for Benfica, as Benfica failed to deal with the ball into the box properly, and Karabag got the winner in the 86th minute. Terrible defending. Trubin left stranded. Benfica lose. Honestly, the big conspiracy was that the Benfica presidential election's happening. One of the candidates wanted to bring Amorim to Benfica, bring him home, so to speak. Reason being, Bruno Lage isn't seen as up to standard. I mean, he isn't. We do have enough evidence of that now. Guy loves Benfica. He's passionate, but his football, not great. Nothing meets the style and level he had Benfica playing at during his first term, right? Crash cut to now we've signed Mourinho, who was fired from Fenerbahce after Benfica eliminated them from the Champions League qualifiers, and we could see history repeating itself here. More on that in my video, if you're interested. Bit of a tough one for Real Madrid, wasn't it? De Zerbi's Marseille coming to town, and honestly, with some cleaner finishing from Real Madrid, they would have been comfortably ahead in this one, In fact, Mbappe almost scored a bicycle kick right off the rip, so that would have been a nice way to open his scoring, right? Still work to do with this team, and with the young faces and new faces still yet to gel together, there are going to be mistakes for Real Madrid. Plus, this is perhaps the best team they have faced this season, so it was always going to be a good test for them. Dean Howson and Arda Güler not covering themselves in glory to start, namely Güler, as he gave up possession in midfield after Howson had pushed forward with the ball. And from the ensuing attack, we saw Tim Weah, a new arrival this summer at Marseille, finish well past Courtois. Aubameyang, yes, almost scored a stunner just before the half, bouncing off of Militão and then putting the ball into the side netting. But before that, we saw Tchouaméni win a penalty and Mbappe tucked it away. A few other chances for Real Madrid, the biggest being probably Franco Mastantuono receiving the ball from Mbappe with Rulli at his mercy, and he hit it right at him. Armchair analyst here, but roll that ball low and it's a goal. Composure will come with experience though, right? Then with 20 minutes remaining, everything changed. Carvajal and Rulli getting into it. Carvajal with a half-hearted headbutt motion. But as we know, if you make contact, you can't do that. You'll get a red card every time. So no matter if it's light, right? You cannot be violent to somebody's face. Honestly, the commentator said it kind of best with this one. Not enough to send Rulli down, but enough to get Carvajal sent off. You just can't do that. It's silly from Carvajal with all of his experience as, the captain of Real Madrid, with Alexander-Arnold already subbed off injured, without Lord Vasquez around to cover. It was a bit of a silly moment from him, but these things happen. Now with Vinicius coming on, he was able to win a penalty, but it was one of those ones where it's ridiculous. I just feel for Medina. He had no idea what was going on with the ball hitting his hand as he was going to ground. It's not as if he stuck his arm out and directly blocked a shot or something. On top of that, he made contact with the ball and then it deflected into his arm. So super harsh. Maybe it's just straight up wrong. I don't know. That's a call that Marseille should rightfully feel pretty aggrieved about. Hard to say where else his arms could or should have been. But anyway, second penalty of the night for Real Madrid, and Mbappe managed to convert it despite really getting a hand to it. So down a man, but up 1 goal, and that would be the winner. Not the way Real Madrid would have dreamed of winning this match, of course, but a win is a win. I would have taken that kind of win for Benfica. But anyway, here's a crazy stat from SofaScore. Since the start of May, Real have scored 22 goals with Mbappe on the pitch, and he scored 16 of them, or 73%, which is just nuts. Juve playing at home for their opening match, hosting Borussia Dortmund, looking like the better side, or at least the side most likely to score for so long. Halftime comes and boom. Adeyemi out of nowhere, great goal, great finish, and that's the threat that Dortmund carries. Guys like Adeyemi and Serhou Guirassy, guys who are capable of a finish like that, kind of out of nowhere. And speaking of being capable of a certain type of finish, how fun is it to watch Kenan Yildiz become a top player in real time? No, we've seen him score goals like that before. I mean, just last season against PSV, cutting inside from the left, curling the ball into the top corner. Basically an unsavable strike from Yildiz. But Felix Nemecha said that he fancied a smash as well, and he picked out the corner past Di Gregorio with a powerful side-footed strike. Assist to Adeyemi there. Then the roof came off. Goal for goal, great for a neutral like me. Fantastic ball through to Vlahovic from who else but Kenan Yildiz, and Vlahovic with a nice finish on his weaker foot for 2-2. And honestly, in general, Vlahovic looked quite good and lively when he came on. Not a bad start to the season for the guy, and it would get better. But again, not a bad game, with Yankuto smashing one from the edge of the box, low and inside the near post past Di Gregorio, 3-2 for Dortmund. And the frantic nature of this match, I mean, a bad play from Bremer, which is rare, just letting the ball go through his legs, putting him in pressure, ended in Kelly sliding to block a strike and it hitting his hand. A bit of a tough one to give up as he was sliding. To be honest with you, I don't understand the handball rules anymore when it comes to players being on the ground. This one was maybe more obvious than Marseille's. I don't know. It's just such a harsh rule. I guess the expectation is that you slide with your hands at your side, maybe tied to your side, but Bensebaini converted the penalty, 4-2. But as you can see, it wasn't over. This second half had 8 goals, 2 more for Juve, and it was Dusan Vlahovic who was their hero on the night. He converted with a nice strike in off of the post to make it 4-3 in the 94th minute. They wouldn't. Would they? Could they? They did. And it was 2 players who had taken verbal beatings from the Juventus fan base at times in the past, certain sects of the fan base. Though recently, Lloyd Kelly has been celebrated as an anti-hero, but Vlahovic with a ball into the box that Kelly dove to meet, and it went in past Kobel for 4-4. Unbelievable. Happy for Vlahovic getting the 2 goals and an assist. Yildiz on fire. Not the result you wanted if you're Juve, but you've got to be happy with how the team didn't roll over, right? The first goal of this Champions League season was scored by a Canadian. The other Canadian striker named David, that's Promise David, converted a penalty in the 9th minute against PSV as Union SG, one of the newcomers this season, had a very convincing victory over PSV. 3-0 as of the 81st minute, with Ruben van Bommel pulling one back for PSV. And yes, he is the son of Mark van Bommel. I mean, you can see it, no? Great start for Union. Champions League is back at Hotspur Stadium, and they kicked things off with a win. I didn't actually catch this game, to be 100% honest with you, as I had my eye on 2 other matches at the same time, such as, you know, the nature of all of the games being crammed together in the league phase and the group phase before that. But I'll do my best to sort of rotate through the teams each match week. But hey, great start for Thomas Frank and the fellas. Now we are in Wednesday, where we saw not just a Cypriot side against a Greek side, but the return of David Luiz to the Champions League. Yes, he has left Brazil at the age of 38 after winning things with Flamengo to join Paphos. I saw this random video about what it's like to live in Paphos as a professional footballer. Seems really nice. Paphos went down a man just 25 minutes in, and an already lopsided match became even more so. But 0-0 the final. You got to be happy if you're Paphos, losing David Luiz and then also being down a man for that long. Another team making their debut in Bodo Glimt as they were playing in Prague and found themselves down 2-0 as of the 74th minute. By the way, the play from Slavia's Lucas Provod. If you're watching a Slavia match, watch Provod. 2 assists on the day for him. But after that, Bodo Glimt said, okay, fine, we'll score. This came after having a penalty saved, by the way, and they finally started putting the ball in the back of the net towards the end of the game. It's not like they weren't playing well before this. They were. They can be proud of their performance. They had plenty of spells where they looked like they would pull one back as the match was at 1-0. In the end, 2-2, both sides making their debut on Wednesday clinching a point, that being Paphos and Bodo Glimt. Inter went to Amsterdam in need of a positive result following their consecutive losses in Serie A, one of which being against Juve and the Derby d'Italia this past weekend. Now, this isn't the strongest Ajax that we've seen, but Inter at least had a pretty routine win here. Really good for them to have Marcus Thuram up and running, getting 2 goals in this one on either side of halftime, and a clean sheet to go with it, so that's a positive as well for Inter. Now, the pressure isn't completely off of Kivu. That would be wild, of course, but he absolutely needs to start stringing good results together because already it seems as if he has reverted away from that sort of exciting, high-pressing style of play that we saw Inter utilize against Torino, right? He's gone for a style that's more akin to or resembles Inzaghi's. And look, it got him the win, so you can't complain too much. But for anyone that was hoping that Kivu would head in a bold new direction, he hasn't done that just yet. I think he got the yips from those 2 losses in a row. 3 in a row would have been, he would have started getting very nervous. What a match. And yet another win in the final 10 minutes for Liverpool, eh? The only way they have been winning this season, but they've also only been winning this season. So I'm sure they're happy about that, right? Liverpool supporters, what do we think about the dropping of Ekitike? With Isak here, it feels like the old, I don't want to play with you meme after he had such a great start. I know he'll have to play his way into the team. Could see him getting the nod over Gakpo maybe, so he could combine with Wirtz down that left side, but we'll see. Because yes, Isak made his debut. Bit of a quiet night, had some nice moments though. Now of course Liverpool went ahead early in a fortunate way it seemed, with Robertson getting a touch off of Salah's free kick and it going in. At first I was like, oh yeah, no, that was a total accident. But honestly, looking at the replay from behind the goal, it may have been an accident on Robertson's part, but the way Salah hit the ball, it kind of looked like he was looking for someone to get a touch rather than to score directly, or maybe he was just going for that bottom corner. I don't know. Later though, a nice play between himself and Ryan Gravenberch would see the Egyptian score. I thought Gravenberch was actually brilliant all over the pitch in this one. Some nice moments of defensive cover from him as well throughout the match. Liverpool would have plenty of opportunities to extend their lead to 3 before the half, but Atleti pulled one back instead. Bit of poor defending from Liverpool there. A little too easy for Llorente to get that shot off to score again at Anfield. More on that later. Actually, why not? More on that now, as Llorente would score a banger to make it 2-2. A deflected banger, but a banger indeed. This man has 4 goals in 2 matches at Anfield now, which is just a ridiculous stat, isn't it? Especially for someone like Llorente. Now, one of Liverpool's most important players this season, Dominic Szoboszlai, would play in a lovely ball for Van Dijk to head past Oblak, absolutely bullied Lenormand there, and Liverpool would get the win. Just an absolute flurry of corners at the end, and the big man getting the late winner in the 92nd minute. Cue Diego Simeone getting into a scuffle with a Liverpool supporter and getting a red card. So, Liverpool with the win. Ekitike actually could have made it 4-2, not the easiest finish, but he needed that one to stake his claim. But yeah, Liverpool off to a great start and a much better performance from Atleti than I personally expected. Luis Enrique and his new thing of watching the first half from a box with those big old headphones on. He did it again for the match against Atalanta at the Parc des Princes, a match that PSG was fairly dominant in and should have won by more goals, to be honest. You had Barcola just offside after he scored a nice goal one-on-one. They had a penalty saved, Barcola again, but Marquinhos opened the scoring in the 3rd minute. Kavicha got a second just before the half was up. Nuno Mendes scored a beauty by stepping around the defenders before finishing low past Karnateki. Nasty goal from a left back. Not a normal left back though. And then, as he does, Ramos scoring at the very end just to extend the scoreline, right? Really, really nice finish though. Ivan Juric, the coach of Atalanta, said after the game that they had analyzed PSG a ton, and the teams that sit back tend to lose badly. Only sides that press them a lot fare decently well. He ended by saying that playing against PSG is like choosing your method of execution, which is a great quote. Bayern starting things very, very strongly this Champions League season with a 3-1 victory over Chelsea. They maybe could have had more goals, but Chelsea themselves were close to making it 3-2, right at the death. Man, Cole Palmer, just an unbelievable form at the moment. His finishing is on, and that little through ball from Estevão for the disallowed goal, will be a nice understanding between those two, I think. But Bayern, they win through a Chalobah own goal, a penalty for Kane, and from Kane capitalizing on a mistake at the back. Kane with a brace, as he set a record. He's been involved in more Champions League goals than any other Englishman because, speaking of great finishing, he's looking sharp to start this season. He's had a goal involvement in every single Bayern match to start this season off. Every single one. Also, the way that Michael Olise was absolutely burning up his flank. Cucurella had a hell of a night up against him, as any left back would, because Olise is just that good in this moment. His talent level is that high, right? Few can contend with him. Few can contain him, I should say. St. James's Park was absolutely bouncing, as one would expect, right? And the Newcastle United players were tirelessly pressing Barcelona's backline and finding joy early. You had a cutback that I believe Gordon swing and miss. You had Harvey Barnes almost touching one past John Garcia. I mean, it was all hands on deck for Barcelona in defense, early on at least. Speaking of Barcelona, no Lamine Yamal, of course, so Rafinha down the right, Rashford down the left. More on him later. Harvey Barnes should have scored on the counter in the 23rd minute as well after Elanga squared to him at the back post, but what a save by John Garcia once again, man. Guy is unbelievable, but the threat was there. Barcelona had their moments as well, but Newcastle's threat was pretty consistent in that opening 25 minutes or so. In fact, that was the constant threat, wasn't it? Elanga down that right flank, playing those curling balls in behind the Barcelona defenders to varying degrees of success, but Barcelona started to warm up in the attack around the half-hour mark-ish. Pedri starting to get on the ball a little more, slide passes through to attackers, Barca turning the screw, dominating the ball a little more, but again, that threat from Newcastle would not go away. Now, in the second half, Barcelona take a 2-0 lead thanks to a brace from who else but Marcus Rashford, back in England and putting on a show for St. James's Park. The header was nice. The second goal, I mean, you know I love that. Absolute screamer in off the bar. There's nothing better than that. Something hitting the crossbar and going in. Gorgeous. And I really think that he's going to explode under Hansi Flick. I really do. He has the makeup of a player that loves playing in Flick's system. He has the pace, he can beat a man, he has a decent finish as well sometimes. I mean, he has it in him to have a good finish, right? He scored 30 goals in a season not too long ago, so I think he's going to pop off at FC Barcelona. Also, do not sleep on Newcastle United. Count them out at your own peril, because on another day, Garcia doesn't make that save from the first half, and Newcastle go on to potentially win this game. They are a good team. I'm impressed with them, by them. So, King Kevin's return to Manchester, that didn't take long for him to come back, eh? And it also didn't take long for him to leave the pitch. Due to Di Lorenzo getting himself sent off for that last man challenge, or failed challenge on Haaland, De Bruyne was sacrificed in order to get Oliveira, a defender, onto the pitch. Absolutely a red card. The ref got it right, but man, I was disappointed. As a Serie A enjoyer, I was really looking forward to this match. Conte back in England against a good side. De Bruyne back at the Etihad. McTominay, the United boy, back at the Etihad. Lots of storylines, and not to mention the quality that both teams possess, of course. Would have been a very good match. This was a match where I think a lot of people will have been impressed with Vanya, as he was incredible for Napoli, commands the box so well, deals with crosses so well, is a fantastic shot stopper to boot, incredibly agile for such a big dude. And you probably know already, but if you didn't, yes, Vanya Milinkovic-Savic is Sergei Milinkovic-Savic's brother. Anyway, in the second half, a brilliant little scooped ball from Foden was headed brilliantly by Haaland, and Vanya didn't have a chance at it really. Later, Doku with a great run through a maze of Napoli defenders before nutmegging Vanya as well. Nasty goal from him as he's starting to play really well, and City get the 2-0 win. Unfortunate for Napoli, they need to bounce back against Sporting. Also, bow down to Erling Haaland, the fastest player to hit 50 Champions League goals, as it took him just 49 matches. Just an alien. Club Brugge beat up on AS Monaco. Not sure if you saw, but AS Monaco's airplane had an air conditioning issue, and it was so unbearably hot in there that the Monaco players stripped down to their underwear and exited the plane. Bit of a weird way to start your trip to Bruges. I think they forgot themselves on the plane, to be honest with you, because they were run over by Club Brugge, my guy Onyedika getting a goal. But hey, Ansu Fati coming on at the hour mark for AS Monaco and getting a late consolation goal. Happy for the guy. Nice strike as well. Technically sound strike. This was a good one. Man, Leverkusen got a win this past weekend, but they haven't worked out all the kinks just yet. Still early for Kasper Hjulmand. These teams went blow for blow. Grimaldo, speaking of well-struck balls, scoring yet another gorgeous free kick, maybe the best free kick taker in the game right now, as he also converted 2 free kicks this past weekend for Leverkusen. That's 3 free kick goals in 2 matches, which is nuts. I felt for Copenhagen. They thought that they had won it late, only for Leverkusen to claw them back in the 91st minute. So still a lot to work out for Leverkusen. Whoa, 2 teams I had as sneaky good and one absolutely slaps the other. Galatasaray went ahead and could have made it 2-0 from a free kick, but the miss, oh my god. Great free kick routine, shaped up to shoot, only to lay it off to Yilmaz in acres of space, and the man skied it. Cue a massive Eintracht Frankfurt comeback where they score 3 goals in the first half alone to be 3-1 up, then 2 more, just to absolutely step on the throats of Galatasaray. And look, when point totals are so tight in the league phase, those goals are going to matter. And finally, we had Sporting versus Kairat Almaty, a match they were always going to win, they being Sporting, right? But it took them a while to score, had a penalty saved, but in the second half, they ran up the score, scoring 3 goals in 3-4 minutes, 65, 67, 68, I think. Trincão getting his second, Alisson Santos and Kenda. Kenda also set one up. Get excited, Chelsea supporters. However, lovely moment seeing Edmilson score Kairat's first ever Champions League goal. Quite the strike as well, so shout out to them. Really hope they can get a win, but it won't be in their next match against Real Madrid, unless Real is jet-lagged from the journey. I believe a 3-hour time difference between Madrid and Almaty, so not that bad, I guess. They play Paphos after Real, though, so never say never to Kairat getting those 3 points. All right, guys, the first UCL this week completed. Under our belts. We won't bother looking at the table just yet, but we'll have top goal scorer, assists, etc. in the next edition. Cool? All right, see you next week for more videos. Love ya.